Thank you, Brother Chow. Our third and final presenter in this session will be Professor Greg Wilkinson. Greg is a visiting assistant professor of religious education at BYU, and I'm just happy to announce that as of yesterday, we announced that he is joining our faculty as a full-time member of religious education. Congratulations, Greg. His research interests include Japan's new religions, pilgrimage, and the Buddhist canon. Greg obtained his bachelor's degree here at Brigham Young University, his master's degree at Arizona State, and his PhD at the University of Iowa. He and his wife Holly are the parents of 4 children. Greg's presentation today is entitled, "Is the LDS Church a Japanese New Religion?" Greg?
Okay, well, in just a few minutes, I'd like to present a few ideas from my paper and exactly what the perception of the LDS Church is in modern Japan. And so essentially the thesis of my paper, if I open this up, I can actually get to that, is that the Mormon image in the Japanese mind is a new religion image. In order to present ample evidence for that, I surveyed many different sources in both English and Japanese, but I'd like to basically just go ahead and go to the ones that I looked at in Japanese. In Japan, there are widespread publications on Japanese new religions, and I'm just going to look at just a few of them. In the year 2000, a guidebook on the Japanese new religions includes a short description of the LDS Church, and that's the one right here to my left. Within that profile, there's estimates of church membership in Japan, about 110,000, and worldwide, about 10,300,000. Joseph Smith is listed as the founder of the church in this profile, but Gordon B. Hinckley, the church president and prophet in 2000, is not listed as a church leader. That distinction is given to Kitamura Masataka. Kitamura Eugene Masataka in 2000 was director of temporal affairs in Tokyo as part of the Asia North mission, the Asia North area. Kitamura is most likely listed in the church as the church's legal representative on government documents establishing the church in Japan as a legal religious corporation, or shukyo hojin. The choice of Kitamura as the current leader is a good indication that the guidebook defines the LDS Church more as a Japanese new religious movement than as a global religious organization. Also included in this profile is a moniker for the church, the Christian church that emphasizes family. A very brief description of the church's founding, including the Book of Mormon and Heber J. Grant's founding of missionary work in 1901, is provided. And the entry finishes by noting that members of the church do not drink alcohol, and then simply provides the address and phone number for the presiding bishop's office in Tokyo. In 2006, the illustrated guide of the new religions was published. It also includes a profile of the LDS Church. This actual guide divides the new religions in Japan into 4 types: Buddhist, Shinto, Christian, and another. The Christian new religions are listed last in this book, and the LDS Church is the last of the 4 organizations included. Along with the LDS Church, the Unification Church, Jehovah's Witnesses, and the Spirit of Jesus Church, an indigenous movement started by Murai Jun in the 1940s, also have profiles in the Christian section. Similar to the guidebook in 2000, the profile on the LDS Church includes membership estimates, and also the moniker, the Christian church that emphasizes family. Again, Joseph Smith is correctly identified as the founder of the church, but Daniel Gordon Rich is listed as the current church leader and representative. In 2006, Eugene Kitamura had been replaced by Don Rich as Director of Temporal Affairs in Tokyo, and probably listed for the same reason that Kitamura was. The guide includes certain aspects of church history, including the founding in New York by Joseph Smith, the move to Utah, the end of polygamy in 1890, and the start of missionary work by Heber J. Grant in 1901. A special section of this profile also gives key dates in Joseph Smith's life. The LDS churches in Japan are listed at 308, and the numbers of teachers, or kyoshi in Japanese, is listed as 814, with 584 of those being foreign-born. For most new religions, the teachers, or kyoshi, would be those that are serving full-time or are serving as professional clergy, but in the LDS case, this refers to full-time missionaries. The profile also includes unique features of the LDS Church, including prohibitions on alcohol, tobacco, and coffee, the paying of tithing, and missionary service available for 19 to 25-year-old members of the church. The LDS Church is also very briefly mentioned in another recent book on Japanese new religions called Japan's New Religions, as you can see right there, with probably the two most prominent Japanese new religious leaders on the cover of Okawa Yuho and Ikeda Daisaku. And the LDS Church is only listed in the index of this book. No information about the LDS Church is provided besides its name and a membership figure of 123,321. The other Christian organizations included in the index include the Unification Church with the membership record or membership estimates of 560,000, Jehovah's Witnesses with 217,400, the Spirit of Jesus Church, and Seventh-day Adventists. These examples of books on Japanese new religions, so that while the LDS Church is considered a Japanese new religious movement, it's not a very significant one, where significance is simply a quantification of membership statistics. Where profiles of about 100 new religions are included in the work, the LDS Church is consistently represented and provided profiles. That's true of the Japan's New Religions there on the left, and as the illustrated guide of the new religions. But where less than 50 profiles are included in the work, the LDS Church is very rarely included. Well, in this book, there's only 20 profiles included. The Unification Church is 500,000 members, and the Jehovah's Witnesses 250,000 members roughly, warrant profiles. But the LDS 110 or 123,000 members does not get a profile in that work. But it could be safely concluded by these works and others, both in English and Japanese, that the LDS Church can be perceived, or is perceived currently, among the Japanese as a new religious movement before it being included in categorizations of established Christianity like Protestant or Catholicism. The question now becomes why? Why is the LDS Church considered a Japanese new religion? There's several reasons what we may look at to figure out why that is. One is issues of chronology. One of the arguments we may make is, well, it's an 1830 established church. How old do you have to be before you're no longer new? The first issue of that needs to basically take a look at academic studies on Japanese new religions, which basically provide periodization of Japanese new religions starting in the early 19th century and continuing through several stages of growth and stasis until into the 21st century. The 1830 founding of the LDS Church would make it one of the oldest new religions, but well within the first period of development. Inoue Masakane and Nakayama Miki, founders of Misogi-kyo and Tenri-kyo respectively, were both born before both Joseph Smith and Brigham Young, and are still labeled new in Japan. Other new religions from the early stage of development include Kurozomi-kyo, which was founded in 1814 and has been the subject of several academic works on Japan's new religions, and Nyorai-kyo in 1802. This places the Japanese Church within some of the most prominent Japanese new religions as far as its American or worldwide establishment. As a Japanese movement specifically, the LDS Church came to Japan in 1901, went through a period of inactivity during Japan's war period, and then began significant growth after World War II. Both Soka Gakkai and Omoto, two of the largest Japanese new religions, have a similar history of development. Soka Gakkai began impressive post-war growth and development, and Omoto was founded in 1899, had a good pre-war following, and then after World War II, it continued to grow and develop. As either a church starting in 1830 or a Japanese religious movement starting in 1901, the LDS Church would certainly share these time periods of development with some of the most prominent and firmly established Japanese new religions. The next possibility of why the LDS Church is considered Japanese new religions is a matter of characteristics. Two of the earliest works on Japanese new religions in English provides a list of characteristics or traits that define the new religions. I'm going to list a combined list of those traits included in the works by Neil McFarlane and Harry Thompson, and just ask you all if this sounds like the LDS Church. Among the Japanese new religions, they said there's common characteristics of first, charismatic leadership established through theophany and divine communication, concrete goals, especially in evangelism and growth, community identification, highly centralized organizations, massive construction projects resulting in gathering places and architectural icons, mass activities and conferences, establishment of a religious center or Mecca, millenarianism with doctrines and designs to build the kingdom of God on earth, syncretism, mysticism, and novelty in teachings and doctrines, structures and principles that are easy to understand, enter, and follow, and finally, a critical optimism, where the movement provides necessary hope to deteriorating world society. both would argue, both McFarland and Thompson would argue, that all the individual characteristics are important. It's how those characteristics work together in creating the identity of a new religious movement. While some arguments could be made to say how well the LDS Church fits each one of these characteristics, surely Mormonism would not be disqualified from Japan's new religious category based on analysis of characteristics. So finally, I'd like to take a look at just issues of tradition and culture. Even if the LDS Church does meet criteria of both chronology and characteristics, the question must be asked if it's too foreign and too Christian to be considered a Japanese new religion. Most Japanese new religions are extremely Japanese, founded in Japan with a Japanese founder, and the vast majority of members in Japan. That certainly could not be said of the LDS Church. Looking for other organizations that are both foreign or Christian, or even both, may help us understand whether those types of organizations can still be termed Japanese new religions. There are several other new religions from other countries that are considered Japanese new religions. Among those are the Jehovah's Witnesses of the United States, the Unification Church from Korea, and Falun Gong from China. These are certainly not the only foreign religion organizations in Japan that could comply with the general characteristics or definitions of new religions, but are the most commonly covered in academic works in the media because of their numerical success and aggressive evangelical processes. As for Christian movements, both foreign and indigenous, much has been done, especially by Mark Mullins, in studying these groups. Mullins claims that while not all Christian churches in Japan should be labeled new, many of them are explicitly sectarian and make unique claims of authority and legitimacy, which separates them from traditional Christian denominations, and could and should be included with other new religions in Japan. Shimozono Susumu concurs with Mullins and says that new religions in modern Japan include Christian imports. So finally, the question is, if the above analysis is correct, and the LDS Church is a Japanese new religion, and that's how it's perceived by most Japanese, is there anything the LDS Church could or should do to change perceptions and with it categorization? If Shimozono Susumu is correct, changing perceptions or categorizations would probably include lessening evangelical fervor and even abandoning certain proselyting tactics. If Mark Mullins is correct, and new religious categorization derives from sectarian rather than a denominational stance in regard to other Christian organizations, then changing categories would require doctrinal concessions to a pluralistic definition of legitimacy. However, before prescriptions to change the LDS Church's image are considered, the question must be asked if the LDS Church should try to distance itself from new religious categorization at all. Well, perhaps not readily apparent, there are some persuasive advantages for the LDS Church to accept and embrace this new religion categorization and its ties with other new religions. It's true that in Japan, and especially modern Japan, one of the only instances of numerical success or evangelical success and organizational success lies within the new religions. There are several new religions that have over 1 million members, and two new religions, and we saw their founders in the previous slide, that have over 10 million. Truly in a country where 70% of the population reports to have no religious affiliation or devotion, this kind of numerical or evangelical success should be something that the LDS Church should try to model and try to create and try to in some ways perfect. Well, the oil shocks of the late 1970s and the terrorist acts of Aum Shinrikyo in 1995 have resulted in serious paradigm shifts in Japan. Previously, religions were believed to be constitutionally protected from intrusion or even supervision and were seen as an intrinsic public benefit. Now, constitutional protections, rights of incorporation, and tax benefits are increasingly seen as privileges religions must earn rather than things they inherently enjoy. New laws, such as the Personal Information Protection Law and door-to-door sales laws, have the potential to seriously alter the organizational and evangelical activities of the LDS Church, along with most new religions. However, some of the larger new religions in Japan, most notably Soka Gakkai, hold great political influence and have successfully, to this date, lobbied for religious exclusions to such laws. Cooperation with large new religions like Soka Gakkai to prevent consumer protection and personal information laws from becoming an undue burden on religious activities is probably a worthwhile goal. However, because the LDS Church is so small in comparison to groups like Kofu no Kogaku, Soka Gakkai, or Rishoko Seikai, it does run the risk of being primarily and dominantly known by many Japanese for their even issue-based cooperation with these groups. Issue-based ecumenical cooperation can quickly become far-reaching entanglements. Of course, another opportunity for ecumenical cooperation comes from times of crisis and natural disaster, like the Kobe earthquake in 1995 and the Tohoku tsunami in 2000. Certainly, the resources and logistical support of large new religions could improve the LDS Church's ability to meet certain objectives, and perhaps cooperation could work towards a common good. However, navigating opportunities, even the most promising, should be approached carefully and prudently. The LDS Church does have a unique position in Japan with its global ties to Catholic and Protestant Christians, and it could use its classification as a new religion in Japan to bring together innovative networks between evangelicals and congregations of established Christian denominations and some of Japan's new religions. Thank you.